I was having dinner the other night, and I was in Denver. I love to eat dinner by myself. It doesn't bother me. I can sit there without a book, without a phone, sitting there eating some tacos, and I was in Denver. And this gentleman sits down next to me, and he says, "What's your story?" I said, "Oh boy, here we go." I gave him the very, very brief story of the flight around the world. Very brief. Oh, I flew around the world in a single-engine plane, and I could already see his eyes glazing over. And he said, "I did a flight around the world, too." I thought, oh, well, this is going to be more interesting than I thought. He says, "Yeah, I flew through Tokyo, I flew through Thailand." I'm like, wow, what's this guy flying? No, he flew on United, okay? This story is one of big challenges and a lot of turbulence, because most folks that feel turbulence outside of aviation, they're sitting in the back of the plane. But this talk is all about how we can switch from being passengers to being pilot in command of our own journeys, right? So the three things that I want to accomplish today: I want to change your mind about how you view a compass. That's going to be a big one. Number two, we're going to talk about my strategy for taking a pilot's perspective. And that's the handout that you have. Scribble all over it, throw it away, do whatever you want with it. But there are a couple ideas that I had when flying around the world when it comes to how I tackle challenges, how I ingest information, and how I make decisions from there. And then the third promise I want to make to you is that we are going to talk about the importance of the roles that we play as a part of a bigger flight crew, right? We're all pilot in command of our own journey, but have you ever considered yourself a baggage handler or a member of the cabin crew or somebody's co-pilot along a journey here at Collins? All the different roles we can play, and also keep in the back of your mind, who's in the control tower? Who is operating as the FAA, right? Because, of course, in aviation, so many rules we have to follow. I have to be careful with my metaphors here. Because if somebody walks in who's not a part of the event and I say, "Oh, screw the rules, we're just going to go this direction," they say, "Oh, no, 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 we are an aviation company." So I want us all to think metaphor today, all right? These are the lessons, these are the ideas where when you have a tough challenge ahead, I want you to think back and think, well, how could I possibly view this as the co-pilot, as a part of this team? Or how could I be a better baggage handler when it comes to accomplishing some of these goals? So I want to start off by changing your mind about a compass. We've all seen a compass before in an airplane. We've probably held one. The center of the compass, as we move around, right, it's going to point in the direction that we are looking. In an airplane, you've got multiple forms of a compass. You've also got the old whiskey compass, the ball that's floating in the liquid just on top, basically right in the middle of the plane. It's called a whiskey compass because it used to be filled with whiskey. Now it's some other sort of fancy liquid. But the point is, that compass has a lot of factors that are asking it to go in different directions. You've got metal parts in the airplane that are actually pulling it off course away from magnetic or true north. And then there's all forms of different, where is true north? Where is magnetic north? These are all different sides of that compass when you look towards north. But to start things off, I want to ask you guys to, in your head, pick a direction on a compass, okay? Would anybody be willing to volunteer their direction on a compass? Doesn't matter where we're going, but somebody yell out a direction. West. West? I heard north. Okay. All right. So when I ask this question, no matter the audience, and we are here at Collins Aerospace right now, I only heard at most 4 directions. I heard the cardinal directions, right? North, south, east, west. How many options do we actually have on a compass? Steve says 360. That's not right. And he's a pilot. I would like to argue that the directions on our compass are infinite, right? Think about that. Oftentimes, we think of a compass only in terms of finding our true north. Where is north? Because we can base everything off of that. That's a pretty simple idea to drill into our minds, right? Those cardinal directions are so easy to latch onto. We're either going forward, we're going back, maybe we're going to take a turn to the left or the right. But what about all those directions in between? That is how I came to accomplish that flight around the world. The other thing is that when it comes to your flight crew, handling turbulence in a different way, when you have other intelligent brains on your trip and you're able to think as a collaborative group, that is so helpful. Because when I think about my journey, the parts that were the most unsettling and the parts that really cause your stomach to just have butterflies in it, and you don't know what's going to happen next, is when I would reach the point of no return. And in aviation, that is an actual calculation, as I'm sure a lot of you know. The point of no return when you're flying over the ocean is the calculation from the point at the end of the runway, depending on the weight of the aircraft, the speed you're traveling, how much fuel you've got, the weight, etc. When you take off from the end of the runway, point of no return is the miles distance from the end that you can safely turn back, pitch for best glide, and land on that runway. Does anybody know what the point of no return is? At 270 knots, flying, well, full fuel, so 600 pounds, let's see. It was 80 miles offshore, okay? 80 miles offshore, and I was flying between Natal, Brazil, and Dakar, Senegal. There's an entire Atlantic Ocean in between. The sounds that that engine started making, the PT-6, oh, and by the way, the plane had about 50 hours on it at this point. When I picked it up in Switzerland, it had 3 hours on the engine, and I flew back with a different ferry pilot who was great. But as soon as you hit that point, the engine goes from just not even being a care in the world to the only thing you can listen to. And I go, Shane, did you hear that? And he's able, because of his experience and because of his willingness to be an effective co-pilot, he is willing to say to me, Amelia, I have the experience to tell you that what's happening is that these are probably your emotions. These are probably your fears kicking in. Nothing has changed. Look at all of our engine readings. We are totally fine. We're going to stay the course, right? We're about to reach our point of no return, and we're going to keep going. And that, in my mind, is why I made it 28,000 miles around the world. And those big ocean crossings were the point where I felt the least and the most confident about my flight because of my, I will say, because of Shane's experience. He gave me that confidence. So when I think about my flight crew, he is the first person that comes to mind.